What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report's IU Indiana State football preview for Friday night's game with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell. We talked a little bit about the Indiana State game on Saturday, more about the Illinois game next Saturday. Even talked a little basketball and some rivalries, a lot of really good stuff, and a lot of fun. Schedule's going to be a little different this week for IU football since the game's on Friday. We will not get to our recap until Saturday because Grant is covering high school football, as am I. Please tune in on Saturday for the reaction to IU Indiana State.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Welcome back, Hoosier fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report, and what kind of turned into an impromptu IU Indiana State preview because I knew the game was Friday, but I had the preview for Friday, and that's just not enough time. So here we got together. Grant is here at Stage 22 with me. We've got Mike Hutsell on the phone, and I saw a line today, 48.5, guys.
Yep, saw that. Seems low.
It might seem low.
I think it's about right. I do.
It's so weird. It's so weird to see 48.5 and think, oh yeah, and they're going to cover that.
Yeah. It really could be by halftime.
It could be made up. I mean, those spreads for these FCS games are usually they don't come out till about 24 hours before. This one a little bit sooner. Based on what we saw last year in the Western Illinois game. And as Grant said a couple times, Indiana's beating the brakes off of Indiana State when Tom Allen was the coach and Connor Bazelak was behind center. I mean, it just seems like one of those games where they could – 48.5 is a huge number. So as a better, I'm staying away from it.
And Indiana State's not good, but they're better than Western Illinois. So at least there's that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a high bar.
Yeah. Indiana State is not the worst team in the Missouri Valley Football Conference, despite what people might think. They win 2 to 3 conference games.
Well, they're 2-0 to start the year.
Yeah, they win 2 or 3. They used to be even worse, but last year they were pretty decent. I think they beat Southern Illinois.
My thing is we're sitting here previewing Indiana State, and it's one of those where we said it on the IU report last night. You can't take it lightly.
You can.
I mean, you can say
they can't. We can.
Sure,
we are.
Sure,
right, Mike?
But I'm taking the approach that the team takes. How about that?
Okay, good.
But it
Mike
is
and I will just assume they're going to win and be.
Well, based on what we know about Greg, this should be a first round matchup in a playoff on Friday night.
I know. He ain't wrong, Greg.
Yes, he is.
He ain't wrong.
He's way wrong.
But
my
Greg,
thing is
Greg, did you just say they're pretty decent last year? I mean.
Yeah, they beat Southern Illinois. I think they won 2 or 3 conference games. They weren't horrible. They hung with Illinois State for a half.
Do you remember what happened week 1 of last year?
Yes. Yeah.
What happened?
They were pretty good for them last year, Mike. I'm not saying they were pretty good.
Week 1 of last year, they lost to Purdue.
I know.
Bad.
They were the only
41-7. I mean, it was so bad that Greg Doyle went out the next day and declared Hudson Card a Heisman favorite.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, Greg.
It's very Greg Doyle-y.
You're cursed with that name.
You're not Greg.
Okay, yeah,
you're just Greg, not Greg.
I'm a little bit, gonna dismiss a little bit the whole narrative of they were pretty good last year. When they made Hudson Card's Heisman
Indiana
video.
State. They were pretty good for Indiana State.
They lost to
Hudson
Purdue.
Hudson Card had a Heisman vote after he played this team last year. Hudson Card.
Well, then they're well coached because they got a lot better through the year. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Sure.
All right. Anyway, so
Sure.
Grant, take it away, Grant. You probably know more about this team than me.
Well, we talked about it on how we're going to spend a lot of time here. Yeah,
we're thinking about.
We're talking about Illinois. Funny enough, here, shout out to my friend Mason Dubois. He's coming to the game. He's coming to the Illinois game with me. Texted him the other day. I said, "Hey, 7:30 kick. It's going to be prime time. Place going to be rocking." And I said, it's a red out. And he said, quote, "Are you shitting me?" He goes, "I bought a black IU hoodie." I'm like, well, I'm like, sorry, I don't know. I said, it's not a big deal. Just still wear it. No one cares. But there's a lot that goes into that. We talk about the possibility of it being a game day game. We talk about how it's under the lights. And I think we got to start asking ourselves, is this and I'm sure there was some game back in 1967 or in the 60s or whatever, but could this possibly be the biggest game?
Greg's freshman year of high school,
67? Yeah. Could this possibly be the biggest game in the history of Memorial Stadium? That's a decent question I think we could ask ourselves leading up to that game.
Greg's old jokes, really? That's where we're going today, Mike?
Grant did drop yesterday that
I'm
you're
like
1 year
4
younger
years
than his
older
father.
than you are.
You're 1 year older than Grant's father, so
yeah.
I know.
You're unk, as the kids say. You're unk.
Uncle Greg.
All right, real fast before we move on. Last year, Indiana State went 4-8. They had some close
but they were
losses
really good
for Indiana State. They had some close losses to some good teams, and they beat 15th ranked North Dakota late in the year, and North Dakota was a Sweet 16 team in FCS. So they had a really good year for Indiana State. They weren't a good team. They had a good year for Indiana State.
A bar set so high, Bill Lynch could almost clear it at 4-8, baby.
It's not a high bar at Indiana State. It has never been, or not for a long time. Not since Larry Bird. Oh, wrong sport. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all I think about when I think about Indiana State.
I don't know anything other about Indiana State other than that they're 2-0 coming in.
ESPN analytics give Indiana State less than a 1% chance of winning the game.
What I don't like.
What would have to go
Seems
wrong?
high.
What would have to go wrong?
What I don't like is the fact that they're playing this game the same night that Bloomington North and Bloomington South are playing each other, and the same night that Terre Haute North and Terre Haute South are playing each other. You're going to have a lot of traffic down there through Bloomington, people going to the game Friday night. And then on top of it, you factor in a lot of those local people that are Bloomington South fans that, may have a kid on the team or whatever. It's like, okay, well, we can't go to the IU game that night because, it's the biggest game of our season because we're playing North. It's really screwed up, but it's TV money, it's the executives, it's all the, other shit that goes into it.
There's a lot of reasons not to go to this game, and that sounds terrible to say as a fan. It's a 6:30 kick, right?
Yeah, that makes it worse. Yeah, that makes it worse.
Just because it sounds horrible, it's absolutely true. There are a lot of reasons not to go to this game.
But this will be the last time
people should do it anyway.
Well, this will be the last game of the year you can get in for dirt cheap until Purdue.
That's right.
When Purdue's 2-9.
That won't be dirt cheap if IU is 9-2, Grant.
Not necessarily, because those Purdue tickets, the resale tickets, are coming from the Purdue site. So they're going to put those extremely low.
9-2, Grant.
Another Friday game, oddly enough.
But what doesn't conflict with that is unless your team is in your high school team's in the state finals.
But that's bad that the two biggest the two Big Ten programs in the state of Indiana are playing in competition with the IHSAA state football finals.
They do every year though, is the thing with it being on Saturday too. So you're kind of doomed with that either way because you're still playing on Saturday. But I kind of like that it's on Friday because it'll get a primetime slot now on NBC on a Friday night and on Black Friday. Which
bodes well for Purdue.
Yeah, it's sure. It's one of those where it's that time of the year where like the days, especially that week of Thanksgiving, just kind of all run together. Because you're in Thanksgiving holiday mode, so it all just kind of runs together.
It does. Three straight days is Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Well, Wednesday through Saturday,
absolutely
same feel the entire week. So it's one of those weird feelings, but I'm looking forward to that game. But there's a lot of football to be played before then.
Real fast, my job I feel like is to talk about Indiana State. They are 2-0. The Merrimack win doesn't mean anything. That's a division below them, but Eastern Illinois, of course, the alma mater of Tony Romo, is Indiana State beat their former conference rivals 38-14, and it was 24-7 at halftime. So they're not horrible, but they're not good either.
Cool.
They're not horrible for Indiana State.
Do we have any Parks and Rec fans in the room?
Absolutely.
I've seen one clip from that show ever is when they were playing catch with Andrew Luck.
I think you are the reason I watched it, Mike. I think you suggested it.
Okay, well, I've got an idea for the Indiana State game, and it's based on a Parks and Rec episode.
All right.
There was this one of the subplots of Parks and Rec, I'll explain to Grant here, is Adam Scott's character was the youngest mayor ever elected from this town in Minnesota. And he bankrupted the city on some crappy project. He moved to Indiana in disgrace. Well, they were going to honor him by bringing him back to the town and say, you know what, all's forgiven. But it was actually going to be another public ridicule of him, and they were going to give him a bunch of shit. And he ended up catching appendicitis and not going to the ceremony. Let's invite Archie Miller in and act like we're going to forgive him for losing to Indiana State by 39 points in his first game as the Indiana coach, and then just publicly humiliate him again. How about that? That will get people in seats, right?
I'm not opposed to that.
I'm there.
I
think we're all there.
Archie almost hit me with his car one time.
You can't have the Bison parachute into this game. That's already been done. Who let the dogs out before the fourth quarter isn't going to bring people in. So
we can't have the Bison parachute in every game, Mike.
Listen, it was amazing to see once. I don't want to see it again. It was perfect the way it happened.
Yeah,
it'll live in your memory for a lifetime.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. It was really cool, but it's overhyped in what people are making it out to be.
So let's just publicly shame Archie. Let's just make that.
And you can get in for $5 and throw tomatoes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pay $5 for the tomatoes.
I'll donate $5 for everybody that don't have
$5 to get in with, and a handful of tomatoes.
Yeah, a basket of tomatoes. Yeah, Archie Miller, man, I'll throw tomatoes out. He almost hit me with his car one time. Yeah.
This preview has taken a turn, Grant. We got to know.
In his defense, Grant, he couldn't see over the steering wheel.
I was just about to say that. I was at an AAU tournament in Westfield at the Pacers Center there at Grand Park. And it was a big AAU tournament where college coaches, it was a who's who, the Blue Bloods were all there. I think I got a picture with Boeheim that day, actually, and he didn't hit me with his car.
I was going to say.
Yeah, he didn't hit me with his car, but Archie almost did.
Yeah,
so
I would have guessed Boeheim.
I was turning a corner. I was in the parking lot walking towards it, and I was kind of turning a corner around the first car in the row to go where I need to go. I turned the corner, and this car's coming in hot, and the driver hits its brakes. And he probably wasn't close to hitting me, but I think it was one of those things where the driver did not see a person come out.
No.
They hit their brakes, and they drive by, and I see, oh, my God, it's Archie Miller.
You cannot tell that story and then say, I don't think he actually almost hit me. You've got to stick to your guns, Grant.
Okay.
It was inches. In fact, the tire scraped your shoe.
You want to redo it then? Let's redo it.
No.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, because at first I didn't think it was I thought it was just a random civilian, and then I look as the car passes me and it's Archie Miller.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh my God, that was Archie. He almost hit me. And he was long gone at Indiana by then. He was at Rhode Island already. And I'll never forget that. And I told my dad that, and he said the same thing Mike did. Well, he probably couldn't see over the steering wheel. I'll have to send you guys a picture in our thread, the picture I took with Archie at that same AAU tournament where he's not even remotely looking at the camera. His head is turned looking somewhere else in the gym as we're snapping this pic. Hilarious. Oh, man.
Please tell me Bob Huggins was also at this event.
So I met Bob Huggins at that event as well, yes.
Anyway, so Indiana State, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, let me tell you. Against Eastern Illinois, they had 211 yards rushing, 201 yards passing, so balanced against Eastern Illinois. Again, I am ignoring the first game like I would ignore the Indiana results against Indiana State. Eastern Illinois is not good, but
should we get your Indiana State correspondent in on this, or
we need one.
I don't know.
In the sake of keeping this in some sort of preview for the game, I'm going to throw out some numbers. Grant, over, under. Second half passes by Fernando Mendoza, 5.5.
Under.
Over, just because I think they'll keep him in for at least the third, maybe, or most of the third. And then they'll bring in Alberto.
That was going to be my next question. Number of quarterbacks who play in this game, 2.5.
Ooh.
I'll take. Hopefully, I'll take the over, and I really hope I'm right. Or it's one of those games where you can, put freaking Surratt behind center.
I'll take the under on that.
Rushing yards for Indiana, 325. Over, under.
Over.
325 is a lot, especially if you're using your.
I'll take the under. I'll take the under, but just slightly under.
They've been over 300 for 2 straight games against much worse competition.
I know, but I think they're going to take their foot off the brake. Is the point? 285 is my guess.
Well, this might be the one time this year some of these
foot off the gas.
Foot off the brake, huh?
Yeah,
like Archie Miller to Grant.
That's right.
AAU tournament. So we've hit some numbers. Okay, here's an important one because I don't think we've seen it yet this year. Mikhail Kamara, 1.5 sacks.
Over.
Over.
Gonna be. There might be 4 different guys with 2 sacks in this game. It's going to be brutal for. Hold on, give me just a second. It's going to be brutal for Keegan Patterson, the quarterback.
Household name.
Yeah. Or Elijah Owens. I don't know. They both threw a lot of passes last week. They also both ran for over 50 yards.
Greg Doyle Heisman Trophy stories about Fernando Mendoza on Saturday. Over, under a half.
Over.
What the hell? Over.
All right. So Illinois, we've talked about game day, right?
I feel like we've already previewed Illinois.
We're going to keep doing it for the next 3 days.
Have we already hit on Illinois? I did go back and look a little bit more into the Duke game. We talked about how impressive – it was an impressive score, but if you look at – Duke had a lot of their own issues in that game. 5 turnovers by Duke. Now, you credit Illinois for creating those, but Duke was its own worst enemy. The line play, I did see the Big Ten in 60 game version of the game. They weren't moving Duke at the point of attack, which, that made me feel a little bit better. It felt like Duke was really moving the ball on their defense. They were just shooting themselves in the foot. I feel a little bit better than I did on Saturday about Indiana's going into that game. The FPI index number, I think, has Indiana at 72%. And the early DraftKings line that came out for this game before even the Indiana State line came out is Indiana -3. What do you think about that?
Wow. A little surprised that they're favored. I would have guessed Illinois by 1.5.
That's what I would probably set the line at.
By the way, guys, as Mike pointed out earlier, I'm really old. The next time Illinois wins a big game will be the first time in my lifetime.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
They went to the Rose Bowl
when?
In Grant's lifetime, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't watched college football ever until last year.
No, that's not true. I used to watch it all the time.
In the Ron Zook era of Illinois football, they went to the Rose Bowl.
They won a bowl game last year.
Juice Williams was beat South Carolina in a bowl game last year.
They didn't even get in the playoffs. Come on. 12 teams got in the playoffs. They weren't even one of them. Come on.
Also went to overtime against Purdue.
That's right.
Oddly enough.
That's right. Yeah, last year's the best team I remember since Jeff George's senior year when they went 6-2 in the Big Ten.
Illinois and Indiana are similar in a lot of ways. Illinois has had some more recent success than Indiana. I just alluded to the Rose Bowl. But they've churned through coaches. Since the Ron Zook era. They've had something called Tim Beckman there for a while. Here's something you may or may not remember. Lovie Smith coached there.
That's right.
Yeah.
As a Super Bowl coach, had any more forgettable tenures after going to a Super Bowl than Lovie Smith at Illinois, and then his tenure. People don't even probably remember. He coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But yeah, Illinois and Indiana, they mirror each other in a lot of ways. Illinois is dying for Indiana or Purdue, one, to declare them a rival, and neither school is interested in doing so. Greg, you can have them if you want on your Purdue side. I don't. I choose not to think about Illinois unless I have to.
I see them as a rival.
You say it's a rival?
Yeah, as a Purdue rival. Yeah, sure. Especially when I was growing up, they were playing for Big Ten championships in basketball a lot. So, yeah, I consider it a rival.
Well, we found somebody who declares Illinois a rival.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. They're a rival. It's not. I'm not getting excited the game day like IU. It's a secondary rival. It's how Michigan feels about Michigan State.
Indiana has a traveling trophy with Michigan State.
Indiana does have a traveling trophy.
I think Indiana and Michigan State in my lifetime have been bigger rivals than Indiana and Illinois.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
The late 80s, 2 or 3 years in a row, they were the best two teams in the Big Ten in football, Mike, in case you remember. And Michigan State ended up winning those.
That was going to be going back to Grant's point before we got completely derailed when he talked about this being the biggest game at Memorial Stadium in his lifetime. The only game I can compare it to was something during the Mallory era. I think Indiana and Michigan State both entered the game around 5-0.
I was at that game, in fact.
And Michigan State, I think, blanked Indiana. I want to say it was like a 10-0 game or something.
The final score is 27-3, Mike. IU felt pretty good about going to the Rose Bowl if they won that game. I think they ended up losing another one as well. But
Illinois is honestly one of the few Big Ten teams Indiana can even point to any sort of very recent success against. They won 4 out of 5 in the series.
They beat them it was the 4-8 year, that year under Tom Allen. They opened the year with them on a Friday night. Illinois went on to have a really good year that year, and Indiana beat them at home.
It was a last-second field goal, right?
It was like a last-second touchdown. They scored with a minute to go.
When Mike and I were young, this is true. When there were 10 Big Ten teams, and even when there was Penn State, if you were a Purdue, IU, Illinois, or Northwestern fan, you looked forward to the games against those other teams because you were not beating anybody else in the Big Ten.
Absolutely.
And Illinois will always be that team to me. I don't think they could ever convince me that they're legit just because I just think they're such a joke. Of course, this is a football preview show in which we've barely talked about the opponent. I tried to bring them up a couple of times, but we want to talk some other big news, Mike.
I find it really interesting and almost forward-thinking from Indiana's standpoint today by the announcement of the outdoor street festival block party Hoosier Hysteria that they're going to have on Kirkwood Avenue. I think this is really interesting.
Very cool.
If it works, it's one of those things where I hope, and I know they've done a lot of planning with the city, but I hope they really, really get it right because I think it could look really, really cool. My fear is they don't quite know logistically what they're getting into, and it's going to come across a little jinxy because let's face it, that's happened with Indiana athletics almost historically, unfortunately. So if this is done right, I think this could be a really, really cool thing. We've seen something similar to this down in Louisville for the last few years. They have a thing called Louisville Live. They do it at this huge entertainment district downtown called 4th Street Live. They did it at Louisville Slugger Field a couple of years ago. These are things that people pay attention to, and it's outside the box. It's not going to be a half-hearted scrimmage for 25 minutes and a couple guys shooting against the girls' team.
Contest,
Yeah, some dunk contest that nobody really puts a lot of thought in, and a three-point shootout against Sydney Parish and the women's team. I mean, no, Hoosier Hysteria had kind of run its course. It was a bit stale.
Yeah.
So seeing this and seeing what this could be, I'm very, very interested.
I am too. It'd be cool to go to just to kind of, scope it out and see what it looks like. You're right. I mean, you nailed it. Pretty much what I was going to say. You got to logistically, it'll be interesting to see how they do it, see how they want to do things. Because it's kind of in that weird time where, okay, are you really eligible to, make this a practice thing, or is it it's like a festival, or are we doing like a little scrimmage, or what's going on? I mean, it's outdoors. You're kind of limited on what you can do, but it'd be interesting to see how they do it. You know, Kirkwood, that little area there should be used for more stuff like that. You know, they have their typical little street festivals and that kind of stuff, but other than that, they really, it's really there just kind of to be the main drag, kind of the scenic spot on campus. So I'm looking forward to see how they do that. I'm debating on if I want to go to it. It's on a Thursday.
It's a Thursday night. That's the weird part about it.
Yeah, I know that. And it's on the same week. It's on the same weekend, or I guess the start of the weekend where the football team has a bye week. You know, you couldn't incorporate something where it could be on a Saturday where all your people who are going to come to it, their attention's not focused on a football game, whoever they may be playing.
Friday night also works.
Or Friday, yeah. I mean, Friday works too. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, though.
I think more than anything, and I've had to come to grips with this over the years. I don't think I'm their target demo any longer. So having it on a Thursday night in Bloomington probably isn't to get somebody like me there. I think
it's definitely for the students.
Yeah, good point.
I think DeVries is very, very focused on making a connection with the IU student body to try to create a connection there. Even though Indiana has a great student section typically for basketball, I wants it to get back to like the Tom Crean era of the student section, I think, where it was just raucous in there when it needed to be. And something like this is great to connect. I mean, I think legitimately, from what I understand, they're still planning a public scrimmage at Assembly Hall, maybe after a basketball game later in the season. So they are still going to be that sort of connection with the fans, maybe the older fans. But this is, I think, strictly Thursday night on Kirkwood. Let's go out. Let's throw down some beers down at upstairs pub. Mm-hmm. Let's hit Buffalo's, and then let's go see what Tucker DeVries and the boys have out here, and sort of a street festival where they can connect with the students.
Shout out to whoever came up with that. It's a really good idea. Mike, Grant, thank you so much.
And thank you for listening. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.